All right, so can you all see my screen here?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Good deal. Let me...
I can see an image of your screen.
Okay. Thanks. All right, so welcome to the August 9th, 2018 DNN MVP meeting, where we no longer have to ask what is an MVP because everybody knows now, right? Because that's David's thing. So as far as the agenda, this is typically what we do. Well, we don't welcome new MVPs every meeting, but we will this meeting. We're going to have a welcome. We're going to do a brief program overview, and then we're going to have the typical agenda here, which is the ecosystem updates and follow-ups. And then we're going to have updates from each advisory group. And then we'll have an open session, and then we'll have a closed session. So Mitchell has arrived. Thanks. Glad you're here. In the chat. Yeah, so in this Zoom meeting software, if you hover your mouse like over the screen, you will see at the bottom like a bar where you can do things like share your screen. There's also a chat, so feel free to jump in the chat. There will be a lot of jokes going on during the meetings. So like I said, we'll have updates from each EAG area. Mr. Stroll cannot be here today. I think David may provide updates in his absence. And then we have an open session, which is where we can discuss anything. Keep in mind these meetings are recorded, and we have been posting them on the website in the blog. And then at the end of the open session, we will stop the recording. Then we'll have the closed session. So that's typically where, you know, there's some good gossip, right? No, just kidding. That's where, you know, we talk about things that you may not want other people to watch online in a replay. All right, so welcome new MVPs here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around and, you know, talk about each new MVP. And if you want to say something, we will let you say something. So new MVPs this go around are Andrew Heffling, Ash, Cassidy, Kathy, Daniel, David, Declan, Hans, Kelly, Matt. Who's this guy? This is Mike, Ryan, Sebastian, and Sergey. So welcome. We're glad you guys are here. As everybody knows, we've updated the MVP program, and it's you know, more community focused, right? Because we have voting, and if you aren't aware, it's very different than how it used to be done. Not that there weren't votes, it's just the whole nomination process and everything. If you look in the DNN MVP forum, which you should all have access to now, if you don't, let me know, but there's a lot of discussion about the process. So we'll start with you, Andrew. Is there anything you want to say about yourself? Maybe give like a little intro, who you are, you know, how you came to DNN, anything like that?
I didn't know I was supposed to prepare a speech today.
Well, that's why we do it. We put like impromptu to see how good you are.
Oh, okay. Well, my name's Andrew, and I run my business, Helping Software. So I do small projects for consulting mainly, and custom software development, and DNN, and pretty much anything in the C# world.
And if you can't hear Andrew well, he often has mic problems.
Can you hear me okay today?
It was a little bit muffled, but it was okay. Don't worry. I don't know if Ash is here. He said he had a meeting that he was trying to attend. I think he may be showing up late. Cassidy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Cassidy Peterson, and I have 10-pound gorilla and have been with DNN since version 1. And excited and honored to be part of this group. And I guess I always get teased because I tell all my friends in my local small town that I have a bunch of internet friends. And so I'm excited to have some new ones and see some of my current internet friends here at this meeting.
Gotcha. And if you're watching this replay, she doesn't own a 10-pound gorilla. She owns a company named 10-pound gorilla. But she may have a 10-pound gorilla for all we know. I don't, or so Ash is here. Let me look. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm having trouble keeping up with who's here. Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead, Ash, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Ash Prasad, and I'm currently VP of Product at DNN. Well, with the ESW, I oversee a few more companies, and under our CEO, DNN CEO Andy Triba. My relationship with DNN has been for a number of years. Primarily started in the engineering at DNN back in 2011. Even before that, I was working for another company using DNN. So I've got a long history with DNN. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, and thanks for nominating me to become MVP now.
Awesome. Yeah, is Kathy here? Does anybody know? Let me scan through here. I don't think she
I
is.
do not see her on the list.
Okay. All right, Mr. Valadas, the man, the myth, the legend. He's taking a timeout from updating core modules to join the MVP meeting. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself.
Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I was on the wrong meeting. There's so many of them that I clicked on the wrong one and I couldn't join. I was on the wrong URL. So yeah, I've been developing all kinds of stuff even before DNN. I started with DNN 4, and I've been doing skinning and custom modules and building websites for clients. And yeah, with the years, I followed, the DNN technology changes, and as recently, mainly with DNN 9.2, there was a lot of modules that broke, and I started trying to take care of the old core modules that a lot of people had on their existing websites. And I felt that was a roadblock for upgrades. And I'm happy to say that most of them now work with DNN 9.2. There's still like 4 or 5 of them that need work, and it's progressing. And I think that started a lot of activity with the community modules too. So it's good to see. And yeah, thanks for nominating me.
Awesome work. Thank you.
Awesome indeed. Good job. All right, so the man who may need no introduction, but we'll let him, David Poindexter.
Hi, I have an OCD problem with the image here. It's out of balance by one person. I want to know how the voting went for Clint Patterson. No, I think most of you know I've been around since day one, and it's nice to finally be in this group. Thank you. I hope you all got your checks in the mail, and if you didn't, let me know, and I'll be sure to resend that out.
Awesome. Yeah, so we like to refer to David as MV Quick David, and he does have a little OCD problem. So like if you've got something 1 pixel off and need it reviewed, feel free to send it to him. All right, so I think Declan is not going to be here. Mr. Hans Lenting, sir, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Hans Lenting from the Netherlands, working with DNN since 2008, and I'm mostly build web applications. And maybe you know me from the DoDNN.work website I started last year after DNN Connect. I'm also organizing the Dutch DNN work group in the Netherlands, organizing 2 meetings a year for Dutch-speaking DNNers.
Awesome. You know, I didn't realize how many DNN shops there were in the Netherlands until like the partner program. When we updated it, like we've got quite a few. Like DNN has a pretty good presence in that area.
Yep.
All right. What about Kelly Ford? I know he may not be able to make it today. Doesn't look like he's here. Matt Rutledge, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah. My name is Matt. I'm a CTO of Believe Kids. We're a fundraising company, and we've been using DNN since 2014. And I've authored the generator DNN module, or module generator. So it goes Yo DNN. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's why I just typed in the chat. Yo, Matt. That is actually an awesome tool. I think everybody here is probably aware of it, but if not, you should definitely check it out. It is like the new version of Chris Hammond's module templates, right? But a little bit easier and faster if you ask Will Stroh.
all command line, Visual Studio not required. persona bar template coming in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that would be big time, and that may help some of the things that Ash and David and Andrew and the crew are working on, right? Like persona bar examples, documentation, things like that. All right, Mr. Mike Smeltzer, Mr. Nova Scotia, is he? I don't think he made it. He probably got 5 different invites from him and is on the wrong one too, right? All right, Ryan Moore, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
I'd be glad to. I think, just like David, I'm very honored to be here and say thank you to everybody for allowing me to join the group here, participating obviously in Southern Fried DNN and a lot of the community events from Summit and otherwise. My little company, More Creative, we consider ourselves integrators. So we put everything together, and it's been DNN since version 3 for us.
Awesome. Glad to have you. And if you tune into the Southern Fried DNN meetings, you'll notice Ryan as our MC. He's got the least amount of Southern drawl, and he is understandable, so we put him in front of the mic. All right, so Sebastian I don't think is here, and I don't see Sergey as well. I think everybody knows Sebastian. All right, so again, welcome all new and renewing MVPs. And all right, so program overview. I figured, we wanted to just kind of give a brief description of the program in that some things have changed, right? So like, what does the MVP program mean now in 2018? So first thing that we should say is that the MVP program belongs to the DNN community, not so much DNN Corp, right? So that means certain things. It's as you can see in the forum, the MVP forum, we're talking about the program being kind of self-regulating, right? We are a community, and the community is essentially the one that ushers it. I am kind of facilitating, sending emails, setting up meetings, voting, things like that. But one of the side effects of it not being with DNN Corp is that you used to get like a little trophy, right? And we don't have a budget for trophies in the community unless you guys want to take up money. But it aligns with the return to open source. So I think it's a good thing because we've got a lot, more transparent process with how we get MVPs. So MVPs are to be leaders in the community. You guys pretty much already are leaders in the community, but this is the hope, right? So the MVPs can, go in their respective areas and their respective channels, however it is you contribute, and be leaders in those areas. And again, that's helping community be aware of things that are going on and to evangelize DNN. So, oh, yeah, and another thing is that the MVPs exist across all ecosystem advisory groups. So several of you are here plugged into multiple groups. But what we hope that the monthly MVP meeting will be a place where MVPs from all sides of the ecosystem, whether it's partners, technology, developers, awareness, there are things going on in all these areas. And like I sit here and watch it all day long in these Slack channels, but if you're only in one group, you may not know about things that are going on in these different areas. And so that's why we're hoping that the meetings will be, the MVP meetings will be a place where we can kind of synergize among those groups. And I'm big on like pictures. So to me, the MVPs are the connective thread throughout the DNN ecosystem. And so as I mentioned, we've got these 4 groups. And this is just putting pictures with what I just tried to describe, right? But in the awareness group, we've got MVPs, partners, developers, technology, the blue dots representing MVPs. And like I said, the MVP monthly meeting that we're on here is hopefully a place where we can get updates and insight into what's going on in each area. Because if we're operating in a vacuum, then it doesn't help. There will be, double work. And for example, there may be something that Matt Rutledge is doing in the developers group with his DNN generator that if only somebody in the awareness group knew, they would be blogging and tweeting and telling all their friends about it. So that's one of the main hopes for the MVP meeting. And that's why we get the leaders to make updates here. So Now to some ecosystem updates and follow-ups. We did the welcome, new MVPs are here. So DNN Digest goes out tomorrow, and we've got some updates there. I'm trying to think. One thing that may be there that you may not know is that the EVS system, Extension Verification Service, is going to be open source, and if we get the blog out in time, we're going to talk about that. Ash, do you want to make any comments about that?
Yeah, so we're actually looking at, we're doing our final review. We want to make sure that there are no credentials saved in the repository before we open source it. So it's just a matter of day. Hopefully tomorrow we should be able to release that.
Yeah, and you'll get all the details when we do post it, but that should allow the community to make enhancements to see what's going on with EVS, because people always ask, what's going on behind the scenes with EVS, So we'll be able to know, the community will own the code, and DNN Corp will still own the infrastructure. So it'll still be running on their server. So that's something you'll see in the DNN Digest, as well as a shout out to all the new MVPs. So follow-ups, this is a section where if there's anything that needs to be followed up on, I typically list it here, more so as a mental note for myself, and I don't even remember if I updated it here. Yeah, so one of the last questions we had at a previous meeting was, as an MVP, do we get a license of eVote? Well, in the new DNN, the new structure, it's not necessarily just a license to eVote, because you have access to all of the software in the Prime program. And if you're not aware of the Prime program, you will be soon. I think a lot of the partners know about it, and if you were at the virtual user conference, you'll know about it too. But anyways, the question was, can we get access to all of the softwares in the Prime solution? And so I did ask that question. I did not get a solid response yet, so that is still one of my follow-up items. If you looked in the MVP forum, we did have quite a lengthy discussion about the code of conduct for MVPs. And this is just, us saying, as an MVP, you should be a leader and you should conduct yourself accordingly. As my mother always told me before I left the house, don't do anything that'll embarrass your mama, right? So basically we're saying, don't do anything that'll embarrass the MVP program. All right, so yes, so if you are on this meeting or if you are MVP and you have not sent me an email acknowledging that, hey, I saw the code of conduct, I'm aware, I agree. I got a lot of emails from everybody, but I'm gonna be chasing some people down if you don't, respond here shortly. Upcoming events, so we've got a Southern Fried DNN meeting next Thursday. David's gonna talk about MV Quick components. DNN Summit has been announced, and we sent out an email this morning, which we omitted some of the categories, and Cassidy got on me because I messed up. But the call for speakers is now open. You can talk about DNN, marketing, business, UI, UX, any of that stuff. So it's on the website. That's updated, and I don't have a bullet point for it, but TADUG, the Toronto Area User Group run by MVP Addison Oliveira, they're going to have a meeting September the 5th, and it's going to talk about, I think, language packs. So those are some updates for you. Oh yeah, and we had the weekly DNN tag meeting, which a lot of you already know about. Now, I'm going to be quiet, and we're going to let the advisory group leaders give updates from their areas. David, I think you're going to give Will's updates. Peter, would you like to start us off, sir?
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for being here. All right, so I got 10 minutes. Is my audio okay this time, Clint, or am I slurred?
Yeah, much better. You're good to go.
Oh, okay, because I ended up sounding drunk, I think, last time. Which had absolutely everything to do with my mic and nothing to do with my physical being. Nothing to do with the fact that it was my birthday. Anyway, yeah, so this is the time of the year when Europeans are kind of scattered away from the office, and we come back into the office and see what all the Americans have been doing while we were absent. So there's a new new release out. I saw as well. So for me, it's the same thing. So I'm trying to catch up actually with everything that's been happening in my channel. We don't have, for those of you that don't know, my developers group. We don't have central meetings. It's not very centrally steered. Let's say we have a Slack channel. We have a Slack group. And through that, various initiatives spark up that they will have actual meetings. So there are two initiatives currently that have online meetings going on. One of them, the core modules initiative by Daniel Valedas. And Daniel is plugging away. I'm extremely happy to see how much progress has been made already over the past few months, trying to bring all of that in line. And after, I'll try to round this off as quickly as possible. So if Daniel wants to say something about that, then I would like to give him the time to do that. There's the documentation effort led by Kelly Ford that has regular meetings. So that is prepping for going public. That would be a great moment as well. Otherwise, in the Slack channel, there'll be various discussions. We tend to kind of bleed into the domain of the technology group from time to time, where people comment on how the framework should work. But we'll accept that as part of our process. I'm not too worried about that. But particularly interesting, I think, over the past couple of weeks has been discussion on how the framework should offer developers UI components, basically. And I think for those of you interested, please join the developer group, and you can see that discussion unfold with various options going on. Matt keeps plugging away at his Yeoman templates. That's really, really awesome. I will be probably going to be adding to this with Cake build scripts for modules, if someone didn't overtake me while I was away. But I've been working on that a little bit on the side, and I think that kind of rounds it off. So, Daniel, would you like to say a couple of words about the core modules?
Yeah, the core modules project started about 2 months ago, and until about 2 weeks, it was like a crazy activity. I think everybody got either busy or on vacations, and the past 2 weeks has been a little bit more quiet. I know for me, I got very, very busy, and I know some people are on vacation too, so there hasn't been a lot of movement in the past 2 weeks, but it really started very, very strong. So I hope we get back to more activity soon. And yeah, everything is progressing, and we're having a meeting every 2 weeks, and it's mainly just agreeing on directions and deciding on standards for those modules.
Yeah, and to complete that, or to add to that, discussions on, for instance, which modules would make the cut, to be a core module. Like, what do we do with really old ones that may technologically have been outdated, etc. So there are a lot of hard discussions going on as well, right?
Yeah. And on our last meeting, we got the idea of publishing a survey, and in the next meeting, we'll discuss a little bit the results of that survey. And mostly everything falls where I think, but there's a couple surprises, modules that we don't see a lot, but according to the survey, they're used more than we think. Some modules that, like the maps module, we thought like it was nobody could use it, but it actually got a couple votes as being in use. So there's a little bit of thinking according to that survey, but some modules effectively would require a lot of work for very few people using them. So that's things we need to consider how much time we want to invest in.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So anyway, so and again to the newcomers, obviously this work depends on volunteers, and we we invite MVPs to contribute to these core modules, or find people around them to contribute to core modules if they see the opportunity. We can use all the help we can get in this.
Yeah, even just testing and documentation.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, and if developers could concentrate on developing and we get help just on testing, documenting.
Yeah. All right, Clint, I think that was about it for me. I think we stayed within the 10 minutes.
Gotcha. And you do have one sub area that you did not mention, I think, which is the documentation effort. That is a subgroup of the developers, right?
Right. No, I briefly mentioned it with Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was getting hammered with messages. So yes,
No.
that is an ongoing effort. Even though you may not hear much about it, there's a lot of stuff going on, and hopefully there'll be some goodness to come. All right, so Will Stroll is absent. So David Poindexter is going to fill in with updates from the Awareness Advisory Group.
Well, first of all, shots. Will's not here, but yeah. So he did a great job of giving us a good rundown of what's going on in there. So forgive me if this sounds a little bit mechanical, but I'm going to try to just read through some of his notes on what's going on in that group. Quite active group. There's about 31 members total. Not everybody's active, but they do chime in from time to time. The last meeting has been posted on a blog on appendoventures.com, and I'll post a meeting or a link to that here in the chat for everybody to see in your spare time. There's been some work on the DNN website, even today, a few little tweaks. Thank you, Clint Patterson, for those. Ernst Peter has been working to remove some of the stale DNN forms along with Clint, and they have now been archived with links to their respective places on GitHub to really move the conversation from the DNN forms out there to GitHub where the actual code lives. So that's a nice little effort there to coordinate across all of the community extensions. Begun to test some forms for specific languages in there. I think, Clint, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the one for Portuguese speaking folks has already been created. Is that correct?
Are you talking about the forms for the new languages?
Yep.
Oh, so I created like 9 of those this morning. They're already.
Oh, well, there you go. More than one then. So thanks to you guys for doing that. Jay Mathis has been working to get things kick-started with a community dashboard extension that's being built as a SPA module. And this will help us to aggregate some statistics and things like that from the community, some activities. So to give us a nice view into what's happening in the community. So congratulations to those guys for getting that started. There's also been a very comprehensive plan really put together for the DNN software website itself. And they are still going through the process of really determining what's going to end up there, but a lot of good conversations going on there as to what goals there are for the site and what messaging needs to be there and so forth. So hopefully in the fairly near future we'll get to see some benefits of that from the reaping of their efforts there. So,
and David, I think we may want to kind of just pause and say, like, the website project, like Andy from the top of DNN Corp down has like told us, like, the website needs to be updated. You guys like make it what it needs to be. And so there's been an ongoing discussion about it, and that's what the project is. So like if you go to DNN software and you're like, man, I wish it would do this, or I wish this had more prominence, then you need to get in the awareness group and get active, because that's the project that is about to happen.
Yeah, and I wanted to also post into the chat here a link to a video of that that covers what is being proposed and so forth. So don't want to get into too much detail here about it, but do please look at that and review it and see what's going on. This is a great way for you to get involved, especially if you care about what's being done on dnnsoftware.com. So I'm going to blow through some of these other ones here a little bit. Quite a bit of social activity. Everybody in the group's really doing a good job of spreading awareness on specific posts on social there. And the bot that was created for DNN Awareness, that's at DNN Awareness on Twitter, is doing a great job of reposting automatically. So thank you to the bot for that. That was a joke. Okay. Crickets. So quite a few blogs were been posted, and you can check those out on dnnsoftware.com. So that is one of the agendas of the groups, to try to increase the frequency of blogs and helpful content for the community. There's been some videos and tutorials created by our very own Hello Addison Oliveira there, and Will Stroll will be releasing some videos soon as well. And I think he is also looking to resurrect the DNN Hangout. Many of you may remember that a little while back. That was kind of a collaborative effort between Joe Brinkman and Will Stroll, but they're looking at bringing that back. But I think he may have a new co-host on that. So we still do not know. So he's going to keep us on the edge of our seats. And quite a few extensions were released over the last month, including the media module by Will Stroll, quite a few NV Quick releases on our end. Ernst Peter has now been in an effort to get the community extensions page that is on dnnconnect.org updated, and I think there are over 100 extensions listed in there now, so that's very nice. I've been working on a mobile app that is going to pull in all GitHub type activity with some stats and so forth. So those are kind of coordinated efforts there, and we hope to get some nice GitHub integration going on the community extensions as well. There's some work working on the curriculum area. I think Lucas is rolling out DNN to a local university, and looking to do some curriculum there based on DNN. So it's real exciting to see that happen in the educational sector. Been some training courses work from Tracy Wittenkeller and his team on DNN Training Academy, and they are moving over to a platform called Kajabi, and they're hoping that that's going to be released this month. Quite a few open source themes updated this month. One is expected to be released this week from Tracy Wittenkeller and his team. We had an update to MV Quick theme, and I believe that Mateus, I can't remember how you pronounce his last name, but Scottman or Scottman?
Schloman or something like that.
Schloman, yeah. Released a Metro 7 theme that's open source as well. Joe Craig's been working on drafting a plan with Lucas on the speaker program. So thanks to those guys. And lastly, the user group program, we've set up a repo for this. Will Stroll and I last year spent quite a bit of time working out some UX, DB schema, and things like that for a module that will help user groups in the DNN community to be able to more effectively be run and managed by their respective leaders and their attendees. And we're trying to get things kind of kicked off here pretty soon, getting our game plan, revisit all those plans from a while back, and see if they're still relevant for now, and looking into integration potentially with Meetup as well. So quite a few updates from there. Now the good news is I have less updates for partners programs, so I don't know if you want me to go right into that.
Yeah, I mean, we could pause and see if anybody's got questions about the awareness group, and if not, feel free to roll right into it.
All right. So in the partners EAG, there's been some conversation even just today, kind of talking about the licensing flow of things there. So there's some conversation there. A little bit of overlap when it comes to like things on the website for dnnsoftware.com. There's been some conversations about that. So not a whole lot of activity really going in there now as we're into steady state on the partner program. But I think things will be ramping up in the very near future as we start to open conversations a little bit more about the DNN store or marketplace in the future.
All right. So is that does that conclude your update, David?
It does. And thank you for your patience as I read through all that.
Gotcha. All right, Mr. Mitchell Sellers, you're not flying an airplane. Are you ready to give an update? Can somebody hit Mitchell up on Skype and tell him it's time? You're muted or something, dude. Like
Yeah, he was here 2 seconds ago.
No, I see him. It's like he's trying to talk. No, we can't hear you, man. You've got floating shelves behind you. Your shirt is like loud, but your mic's not. Golly, man. Call in on your phone. You're not muted in Zoom. It's something about your mic.
He definitely looks very confused.
I think we should make a meme out of this.
There's like breaker chat on 1.9. This is your pilot, Mitchell Sellers. And like, we can't hear you. Let's see where you went. No. All right, right. We can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Switch to COM1.
He's like saying a quick prayer. I think he's trying to dial on his cell phone. Quick, crack a joke while he dials in.
Yeah, exactly. If it ain't a dial, apparently it's pretty difficult for him.
He's down to 8 minutes.
He is callowing right now. Shot, yeah. So one.
You know, he may have screaming children in the background, or he also has kids too. Because you know, I was referring to clients, so who knows? He could be dealing with something.
Yeah. Yeah, one tradition we try to do is anytime there's a technical glitch, we take a shot. So feel free.
Yeah.
Mitchell.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And you're the head of the technology committee. Should we be concerned?
Yeah, Zoom sucks. That's all I need to tell you. Meeting over. Yeah, geez. So from a technology group perspective, really there's a lot of stuff going on. I think the most important things, there's a couple milestones I think that are really important from a community perspective. Earlier this week, 9.2.1 was released. On top of just the fact that we got the release done in collaboration with DNN Corp, we're seeing some positive feedback on it already. It appears to be actually performance improvements and other things that were almost unintended. They weren't specifically tracked, but it's marked, repeatable, and visible. So that release is out. That release was a very trying release to get out, simply because it was a half ESW, half community release. So we did the release notes, we did the updates, we pushed the NuGet packages and all of that, but we were using build assets that were created by ESW on their systems. So with all of that, and hold on, sorry, I just saw in chat. So DNN software being down, Cloudflare is down. Anybody using Cloudflare is down right now, funnily enough. So side note. But the 9.2.1 release, we got there. It was painful. There was a lot of back and forth. So for 9.2.2, we have automated builds in place. Special thanks to Oliver and Andrew for the VSTS stuff. And with all of that stuff in place now, ESW and DNN Corp team internally we'll be switching to utilizing our generated build assets, which means that for 922, they will be taking those builds. That's what they will be using to do the final round of QA. And when we go to do the 922 release, it's going to go into just being the collective thumbs up of the release and the release candidate process. Basically being really the last step of separating us. We have credentials at this point where we're able to do the GitHub deploy. We're able to do the NuGet deploy. We're able to hopefully shortly get the Azure Marketplace deploy done. Funnily enough, that's not a fact that we don't have the credentials, but Corp does. It appears that it's that nobody does. So we're getting that squared away. But basically, at that point in time, we have all of the keys, all of the tools to be able to do what we need to do to get 922 out the door. There was a change made in the last couple of days, elevating permissions for two of us in the repository, just to guarantee that we have the ability to do all of the things that we need to do based on some permissions issues that arise. So the cooperation and collaboration there has been fantastic. Ash and Tomas have been instrumental in being able to get that all done. So 922 should go a lot more smoothly. We're updating documentation in terms of pull request process and everything else, trying to work through getting those done. So 922 is next up. Code freeze for 922 is actually really quick. The code freeze date for 922 is next Friday, August 17th. We're looking at a release candidate being released on Monday the 20th, and then a actual 922 release most likely the 4th of September. So that's kind of done on purpose for two reasons. One, we want to quickly test the cycle of moving over to using all of our processes so that we don't lump together other potential problems and fixes and changes. But then additionally, we have a lot of things queued up that are really more of a 9.3 release. So things that are more of a minor revision release rather than an actual maintenance release. So we want to clear the pathway to really focus on 9.3 and getting all of that stuff out the door. So overall, from a technology group perspective, we're really, we're self-sufficient now. The end goal of DNN Corp being another vendor in the ecosystem, obviously a regular and valued contributor, but the community being able to manage the release process, manage the releases, process the pull request, incoming slate, all of that stuff has happened and seems to be working pretty well at this point. My only real plea at this point is for those with committer rights, please keep reviewing pull requests, because there's a lot of them and it takes a lot of time. One notable thing that looks like we'll make it into 922 as well. 922 will have a fairly substantial memory-based performance improvement in it as well. So that's about it. We've accomplished what we need to accomplish, and now it's continuing forward.
Awesome. Appreciate the update, Mitchell. Anybody got any questions for Mitchell in the technology group?
Yeah, and I'm trying to make kind of a walkthrough and video form that we can later translate to text for someone coming to the repository and wanting to work on it from A to Z. Here's the tools you need, here's how you set up your local environment, here's how you submit a clean pull request. So I've been trying to do this all week, and it's a busy week, but I'm trying to get this out as soon as possible.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
That'd be great content for the blog, for DNN Digest, for basically everywhere.
Yeah, and Daniel, just all of the documentation was cleaned up. I think my pull request got merged in yesterday morning.
Yes, I saw it.
I streamlined Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I streamlined there was some duplication and conflicting stuff between the contributing document and the pull request document. I got rid of all of that, so it should be standardized. And I guess actually to your tutorial point, the only other big change that is happening for the 922 release is we are merging together persona bar repositories to get rid of some of the inherent complexity, to which then Daniel is going to be working on a video demo for how to do that process. He's actually been able to submit a successful pull request with a change for the persona bar, but we're just having him wait on doing the video until we merge everything together, because otherwise if he did the video now, he would explain a far more complicated process where it gets at least slightly less complicated going forward.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna let it stop me. I'm just gonna replace that part of the video whenever everything is merged.
Perfect.
Initially I wanted to just show how to do it for the persona bar, but then I realized that it better explain everything, because stuff that seems obvious for someone who has already been working with DNN for a long time might be very confusing for someone new, and the opposite. So someone new might be very familiar with front end, and someone who has been working with web forms module is less familiar with that. So I want to kind of get everything together and make a video, and if there's changes, we'll cut it and replace it.
That'd be awesome. So one thing that I would ask amongst the MVP group, we have a licenses folder that is distributed as part of the DNN installation. That should have been updated every release. It's not been updated in a really long time. If somebody has a lot of spare time on their hands and would love to go track down and determine if a dependency is still there, if we're still using that component, what the license terms are, what the valid link is, reach out to me. I'd love some help. I started going through this the other day, and it's going to take a while. So anybody that has a little bit of spare time, that would be something that could be a great help to the technology group.
Good deal. Appreciate the update. We got like, what, 8 more minutes, so I'm going to kind of push through here. The next section is the open session. If anybody's got anything you want to talk about, remember the open session is the recorded session before the not recorded session. So anybody got anything you want to just say for the greater community or discuss in public? Eat now or forever hold your peace. All right, so I will, let's see, stop sharing the screen and I will pause the recording.
I was trying to get unmuted.
Okay. All right, just so you know, I'll tell everybody the shortcut to mute and unmute is alternate A. That's always helpful, but go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I was just going to say that to let everybody know that for DNN Summit, we just announced call for speakers. And so that's going to be out for the next month. But I just wanted to plug that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that's something I should have said.
Yeah. No, I mentioned that earlier too, but it's good to reiterate it. All right, so I'm going to stop the recording now. Thanks if you're watching online.